I'm about 10 minutes from walking into one of the biggest pitches I've had of my life. Um, and right as I walk, and I'm kind of breathing heavy, kind of like Darth Vader, I'm kind of getting amped up. And literally right before I walk into the door to the building to impress this whole board of directors, a bee flies in my mouth and gagging, and I'm sticking my fingers in trying to pull this bee out of my mouth, and he stings the back of my tongue. And I like pull the bee out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got stung by a bee, and I've got about 45 minutes of talking to do, and my tongue's starting to swell, and I'm like, all right, I've been in worse scenarios. I can figure this out. I'm gonna just a piece of ice, ask to go to the bathroom, put that ice, and then go in and do my thing, and that's what I did.
You did it.
I did it. Yeah, I did it.
Wow.
Yeah. It was crazy. But yeah, I'm Dax Cornelius, and I'm an insurance dude today.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Yes!
Boom! That's a good story.
That is good. I like it.
So
So what was the pitch about?
Yeah.
It was about digital marketing and fully integrated solutions of this brand that's trying to create connectivity and relevance with their target audience. So that's what I do best.
Boom.
Wow.
How did the pitch go?
Well, very well. Yeah,
It
we'll
did.
see. We'll see in a couple of weeks. I'll let you guys know.
So this just recently happened.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Is your tongue still swollen right now?
Yeah, it is. It is.
It was 10 minutes ago. So wow. That's just a great
Is
job.
that crazy or what? Yeah.
It is
That
crazy.
is wild.
I
That's
wonder
like,
what the like message was. Like, why did the bee interfere?
Dude, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, what message am I missing here? Is it
Right.
stop talking so much, or is it less is more? I don't know.
How to handle
bee stings.
difficult things under pressure.
did you talk different?
Kind of. Yeah, I could feel my tongue hitting the top of my mouth a lot more than normal. So I probably maybe talked with a little bit of a lisp. I don't know.
Okay, well we could move on after this. But what was like? Did you explain to everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, they knew. Okay, so
yeah, I did, which I don't know.
that was probably good.
I think I tried to use it for as much as I could to have some emphasis on me that you know.
Right. You still did it. You did
it. Yeah, that if that's any indication of the amount of dedication and commitment I'm going to have to you in this new role, you know, whatever. I just
crazy.
went for it. Yeah.
And you're definitely the most memorable. They'll even if they don't know your name, you're B guy. You're like,
100%.
yeah. They're like, I think we just go with B guy. You
Some
gotta
of
go
the-
B guy.
Yeah, some of the best personal and professional relationships I've had have started with some crazy story, you know, and as is life, you know.
So Dax, tell us your story. What's your backstory? How'd you end up landing on the world famous Insurance Dudes podcast? What got you here?
Oh my gosh, you guys! Hey, that's another story for a glass of wine. But I'll give you the short version. I'm an immigrant to the U.S. Got to fly fighters F-16s in the U.S. Air Force for 10 years. Was in Bosnia, Iraq, and then ended up finding myself running a marketing company. And when you look at like whether it's F-15s for air-to-air superiority, that's my PR company, and my AWACS intelligence is my board, and my A10s are my digital company. And I've got all these different leaders and these different assets or Marcoms to deliver a fully integrated campaign on time, on budget, on target. Granted, maybe lives aren't at stake, but I don't know. I beg to differ. I think families are at stake, brands are at stake. People are counting on their jobs, and it's crazy to have come full circle from a military background to my entrepreneurial career to now running Bastion Agency USA. I think it took all that to get me prepared to be able to lead this company and help brands find more connectivity and relevance with their target audience. So it's definitely a very unorthodox, to say the least, journey that I've arrived here as an insurance dude on your podcast. But I'm happy to be here, man. And I have a beautiful wife and 2 girls, and life is good, better than I deserve.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring up, lives and stuff being at stake. I think only a true entrepreneur business owner would feel that passionately about that, because I talk to people about that all the time, and it's like, if you're not a business owner, you're just like, oh, you show up to work, whatever. But it's like, dude, I describe it as like, it's a living, breathing baby that you're raising. And if it doesn't grow, everybody's affected. Like it's a very huge responsibility we have to grow our business. And I was just talking to my manager a couple of days ago, and it's like, if we're not constantly growing, we're dying.
That's right.
And that's how industries, that's how businesses get left behind, is because everything's moving forward. Inflation, everything else there is movement even when you're not moving. So it's very important.
Staying the same is going backwards. And as you guys well know, in this digital space and era, things are happening so fast. From brands to consumers, from data to, it is all happening so fast that I think if people don't make that shift, both mentally, physically, spiritually, they're going to get left behind, whether it be in their personal lives or in a business. No doubt about it.
100%. I'd love to go there. So let's talk about insurance agencies in the digital world.
Yeah. Look, here's one thing I found in the industry, when we talk about Bastion Transform and what we do, yes, we are there to bridge the gap between the heads of leadership of massive insurance organizations, or frankly, services businesses, whether it's insurances or healthcare or what have you. But we're there to bridge the gap between what's in the heads of those leadership and what's in the hearts of those workforce. Because what we found in a lot of our studies, and when you look at elite teams, whether you're talking a F1 McLaren pit lane, or whether you're talking how surgeons work with their staff inside of a surgery, or whether you're talking inside of an insurance company, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of moving parts. And oftentimes you find that the heads or the C-suite of an organization are absolutely clueless to what's really going on with their workforce and what's really happening with the end user and the consumer. And for Bastion Transform, inside of Bastion Agency as a whole, we spend a lot of time working with brands to provide that connectivity and relevance to their target audience. We said it was incumbent upon us. We felt it was our responsibility because we had the luxury and the honor to walk through so many hallways of so many different brands. We saw a lot of dysfunction, in some of our clients between the heads of their organizations and their workforce. And we said, you know what? We've got a lot of experience in an organization. We've got a lot of mix of McKinsey type business savvy people all the way to your most smartest social strategist. And we said, maybe we need to pair the two. So we created Bastion Transform that really goes inside of a business or an insurance group and says, hey, how do we align the heads and the hearts of leadership in their workforce? So that's what we've done. And frankly, as we all know in the insurance space, with the digital transformations that are happening right now, it's no longer an option. Kind of like you said, Jason, they're either going to transform or they're going to get left behind. And when you look at a era that we're in, where whether you're talking, not that too many baby boomers are doing that, but your Gen Zs or your Gen Ys, they can take a smartphone, having never seen an insurance company before, swipe through it, do some pretty intelligent comparisons, make it an informative decision, and press enter and go ahead and lock into an insurance company, having never seen them before or known them before on a lunch break. And that is an unprecedented time because you've got a truncated consumer journey whereby awareness of an insurance company to consideration of an insurance company, preference, action, actually hitting yes, I'm going to be that client, and then loyalty to that insurance company. All of that's been truncated, and it's that, whether you're talking about brand archetype or whether you're talking about customer journey mapping, it allows insurance companies to quickly adapt to customers' expectations. The challenges that insurance companies faced prior with old legacy systems, data management, cybersecurity, all of those issues, and becoming somewhat of a commodity, to where we are today in the digital era. If they're leveraging some of the tech, if they're leveraging some of those capabilities, if they're aligning their leadership to their workforce, they've got a chance in this modern digital era to be a thriving insurance company.
So there's a lot there. So let's unpack some stuff.
There's a lot to unpack.
So we have the C-suite disconnected with the workforce in the vast majority of all industries.
Yep.
Here, it's no difference in the insurance world, right?
Yep.
I mean, I can't speak to whether or not that's true at the carrier that I represent, because I'm not sure, and I wouldn't want to comment on that, of course.
Sure.
However, that can be the case maybe with many other carriers. So
Sure.
if that's the case, how do we create this? How do we create that alignment, right? How do we move it back to an alignment? Because what we also see is in the efforts of, especially in the captive world, in the efforts of them to promote growth, they also limit the ability of the agent to do things because of the very technology that's out there that they're getting beaten by. So how does that get handled? How do you handle that disconnect if the C-suite thinks we need to do it this way, but this way is Blockbuster, and over here is Netflix, but we can't use it? What's the answer there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we wanted to figure that out too, right? But we wanted to figure out with authenticity and prove it to ourselves. And we, in Bastion Transform, we put out a massive survey, and it was for all employees of all types, of all shapes and sizes and services. And it was all about, what do you think about your leadership? What do you think about your role? What's your communication with your leadership? Do you feel you have value in your organization as an insurance company? All these different aspects, all these different questions. And what came back, guys, was staggering. And it boiled down to basically 3 sections. It was clarity that they lacked as far as the workforce between what they think they're doing and what the leadership thinks they're doing. It was empowerment, their ability to actually do what their leadership is saying they want them to do. And lastly, mindset. And when you break those 3 things down, which is, whether it's Bastion Transform that's going to do that for an organization, or the organization is going to hire in-house people to do it or outside consultants to do it, they can either do it or they can play the ostrich and ignore it, but it's not going away in a digital era. Especially when you've had your workforce that has spent 2 years with a homework assignment in confinement, really trying to understand what's in their head and what's in their heart, what's most important to them. When they're spending arguably more hours at work than they are with their own family, what are they willing to sacrifice, and what are they not willing any longer to sacrifice? So we broke it down into, when we looked at all the questions and all the answers and all of the feedback, it really boiled down to an organization, if they've got clarity, everyone is very clear on what the focus is of the business and what they're doing. Secondly, empowerment to the employees. And lastly, mindset, they thrived. And I'll break that down if you want me to, the clarity part.
Yes.
Clarity, not to sound trite, but it's the need to feel engaged. Clarity breeds confidence, commitment, momentum, clarity of purpose, clarity of strategy, clarity of roles and responsibility. Here's the deal, though. The lack of clarity within organizations, and whether you're talking insurance companies or otherwise, I'm talking most service-oriented type businesses, lack of clarity was the major driver to frustration and dissatisfaction, and the barrier to productivity in a workforce, in an insurance company. And that's key number one, right? And it makes sense whether you're thinking about in your own life with your own partner or better half or marriage or your own business. If everyone's clear on what they're doing, and we get it. The bigger you get, sometimes the more confusing things get. But the bigger you get, the more clear you have to be and more focused in keeping things clear. The next one on empowerment was really, that was the birth of job satisfaction. It was the ability to get things done to completion. Employees that can complete a task are much happier employees than employees that there's never any one thing that they can get done in any given day or week or month. So as much as that sounds simple, it was actually the most costly barrier to growth with complex processes. And as we know in the insurance industry, as we've gotten into AI and data analytics and blockchain tech and UX and UI and everything that we're doing in that space, it's become more and more complex, especially with a lot of the security and cybersecurity issues. And so it was really incumbent that an organization, when it came to empowerment, had a good team design that was focused on outcomes and outputs. And it let the leadership, let the people within an insurance organization use their brains. So instead of telling them exactly what to do, it was more about explaining the problem and letting the workforce solve it and saying, we're going to come back in 2 weeks, team, and we're looking for your solutions, not telling them how to make those solutions. And really, that imparted, if you provided empowerment, ultimately what it did in an organization was it encouraged trust. And as we all know, again, whether you're talking in an operating room, whether you're talking flying an F-16 in combat, whether you're talking getting stung by a bee before you go into a brief,
right?
Having trust in what you can do and trust in your teammates, that's going to be the common thread to all high-performing teams. It is, whether you're talking a SEAL team, whether you're talking, it doesn't matter. Any space, any place, any time, anywhere, elite high-performing teams, that is the number one most compelling thread is trust. So empowerment within this workforce was key. And then lastly was mindset. As we know, in times of massive change, or as we've all gone through the pandemic, AI that's in our future, change is undefeated. The constant is getting uncomfortable, getting comfortable with change. And so that requires a different mindset in your workforce. And it kind of goes along that. I think it was Roosevelt where he said something: people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. And there was definitely, what we saw in our survey across the U.S., there was definitely a disparity between what the workforce felt about their leadership as far as the care of their clarity, their empowerment, and their mindset. And lastly, on that mindset, it was acknowledgement, understanding what happened, why it happened, leadership not being afraid to say, we've messed up, or we don't know the answer, or here's the warts in the business. We acknowledge them. No one's perfect, and I need you guys to help us figure this out. That was key. Authenticity of acknowledgement of everything wasn't perfect. And then the power of a growth mindset is kind of a neurological association that when there's change, there's opportunity. It's not a threat. When it gets tough, when there's pressure, it's an opportunity. It's not a threat. Those things are good. Whether we're studying to read, to exercise our brain, whether we're working out in a gym to exercise our muscles, pain thresholds, pressure is, if you can get your workforce to believe that's a good thing, not a bad thing, they come into work with a much better mindset. And then lastly, I think it was standards and rituals, which we found, which was making the implicit explicit. There are so many times in a larger organization or an insurance organization where employees come in, they're told what to do, but there's not quite rules and regulations on exactly what to do with certain criteria or certain rules and regulations. There's a lot of gray area. And as much as you got to let them do it, they do need some borders. They do need some lanes, like a bowling alley. So that was key as far as behaviors to stay in the zone and do your channel and complete it to its completeness. So, most importantly, I think when you take those three learnings, when you ask Craig, how do you do that? That's how Bastion Transform does it in order to help large brands or large organizations. And frankly, you don't have to be large. I'm talking even 2, 3, 4-person organizations. The Insurance Dudes podcast, you guys go through the same things in communicating with each other. So the most important thing for a productive team was to invest in that mindset, to invest in that clarity, and to invest in that empowerment.
I love that. There is so much there. And I think what I love that really stood out was the whole change is undefeated, because it's so true. And going back to what we originally talked about, and it's inevitable. And not only is it inevitable, it's exponentially growing. Like this last year with AI was the craziest, like for anybody that's paying attention.
Like last 6 months, really, huh?
Dude, it's like
crazy.
Every day. Like every week.
Day.
Well, and guys, think about it. For all the insurance dudes out there, think about this for an analogy. Think about when we're talking insurance and we're talking about the future of insurance, we're still going to have to provide insurance. It's the same thing. Think about what Uber did to taxis. We're still driving people around, but it's a much different experience. Think about what Netflix did to Blockbuster. We're still watching movies, still the same product, but the user experience is different, right? Think about Amazon with retail or CPG, like same stuff, but a different experience, right? A different experience. And that, I think, whether we're talking an insurance industry or brokers within an insurance industry, underwriters, beneficiary, like that user experience is the part that I think, as much as things change, as much as they remain the same, still the same product. We just have to leverage tech and networks and narratives. And when I say narratives, I mean compelling stories, relevance, connectivity. Why do we want to be with this insurance company over another? Or why do I support that brand? Do they get me? Do they understand me? My demographics, my multicultural facets, what I believe in. That part has to still be humanized, but we can leverage a lot of the tech, the AI, the blockchains, all of the cloud, all of that in order to just make it that much more user-friendly experience for the end user, for the B2P, if you will.
Yeah, I love that.